his breath away, holding the bank page.
Alright, so there's all the tools laid out for you to see. Again, the pry tool, the Phillips, the Pentastar, another pry tool, suction cup, and the battery. So first step, get the Pentastar, see if that works. Yep, so we're going to take off these two bottom screws. Nice magnetic, you can see how it's holding it. I like to use a microfiber cloth to keep the screws, if they fall, they don't go bouncing away, and then plus it's easier to see with the contrast. So let's work on this part. Then you take your suction cup, get it as close to the home button as you kind of can. Get that set down. Pry up from the front there. Gonna work your way around the edges. Careful not to lift too far. You do see that inside of there is the home button for the finger. So you're going to need to pry that off. There we go. Keep these all in order. Next step to do to get rid of, remove the screen off of it is to take off these three screws. 1, 2, 3. This screwdriver is not magnetic, so it does make it a little bit trickier to do. Would probably suggest using a magnetic screwdriver if you have one, but hey, it works. It'll make things a little bit more complicated trying to put them back without it being magnetic though. One, two, where's that third screw? And then you're going to want to pry up these three connectors. One. Careful not to scrape the terminal when you're going with that too. Two. And the third one's off. So from here, you can access the battery. One of the tricks that you can maybe read about or see on YouTube is to put the phone in the freezer, because there is two strips of like command tape and they're super sticky behind it. But I almost forgot one part. We also have to remove where the battery is connected, so it's going to be 2 more screws here and then 1 more connector. So let's take those off too. Take that plate out, set it aside. Have 1 more connector right here. There you go. And I already have replaced the battery in this phone. That's why this one looks a little funky. It came out of a donor phone. I learned the hard way that when you do start prying to get it out, and it is handier to have one of these kind of pry tools if you don't have one, because that way you can get underneath there. Just be careful, because there is, let's show you. So this one's going to come out a lot easier than how yours probably will. But you can see where the command strips are, but when you do start to pry, watch out for this little ribbon cable that's kind of hidden under the top of this battery. If you scrape that, that's what's going to control your volume up down buttons and the silent button. So if you happen to scrape that, like I did on a donor phone, but it was a donor phone, yeah, whoops. So from there, it's just a reverse of the process. So let's put it back together. All right, so now the reassembly. Make sure that the adhesion strips are somewhat smooth, so that way the battery doesn't want to bulge out. This one, it kind of looks like it would go this way so you could see the nice writing and everything, but because of how the terminal comes out, it actually has to sit down like this. So we're going to lay the battery in place. We'll put the connector, and you should be able to tell when you have it. It'll kind of click into place there. Get the ribbon out of the way. All right. So now we're going to need to put that plate back on. With the plate, if you kind of forgot which way it goes where, look at the side that has the angle. That's going to match up with where the speaker is. Get that screwed back down into place. There it is. Lost where the screw went, but then I found it. And this part is where the magnetic tips would come in handy, because I just want to fall off. So unless you got really good fingers to kind of put it in place, probably would suggest getting a magnetic screwdriver, because then it'll just hold it on there while you line it up. So I happen to have one. If you don't, then it might just take a little longer to get all the screws lined up. From there, link up the 3 cables, starting with the one, of course, on the bottom. So you'll kind of hear or feel it click when you get it lined up. Don't try to shove it into place. If it doesn't go with like a light press, then you probably don't have it quite lined up right. There we go. Just like doing Legos. Get the plate back on. Get your 3 screws. Alright, so putting in the last screw now. Now the next thing to do, get the little plate for the thumbprint connector. And this is where it gets kind of fun. You have to kind of get the ribbon over in place and then get it pressed down into there with it only being open slightly. So one of the ways to do that is if you have a pair of pliers or small fingers. So once you have the connector in, again, little pair of pliers is kind of nice to have. You can do it with your hands, but hey. Okay. Now close it up. Make sure you put the screen, slide it up, you know, into the top of the frame first, and then kind of work your way down, kind of pressing, getting it to pop. Now the phone closed up, you just need the last 2 screws right there. Alright, so last screw going in, The magnetic tip on this makes it a lot easier to do. Take the suction cup off and then try powering on the device. I don't know if it came with a charge or not. We'll see. Hey, it powers on, so that's a good thing, right? The screen comes on, it means the connectors are there. Cool. So we'll throw this thing on a charger, go for a day or two, see if it keeps its charge. Problem with the donor phone and what happens with so many of these batteries when they get old is that they just quickly lose their charge. Sometimes stop at 50% or 40%. So kind of report back and see how this one does. So look in the comments below if you like this video. If it was helpful, make a comment, like, subscribe, and follow me on YouTube as we fix more stuff and try out more products. Oops.